Okay. Hello, hello, Uncle Sele. I call you National Global Uncle Sele.
Thank you. National Global Uncle Sele.
Yes,
That's
all encompassing.
interesting. I'm telling you.
How are
Thank
you
you
today,
so
sir?
much.
You're
I'm fine.
welcome.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
It's so good to have you on this podcast. It's called Dare to Live. And so Dare to Live, I don't think I've mentioned this before, but Dare to Live is actually a, should I call it? I don't know what to call it yet. But then it's more like a vision that I got to. So I'd been in a place where, I'd gone through so much depression, the dark place, and all of that, and just having God call me out of that place. And I think it's the scripture that this podcast is founded on is a scripture where Jesus was talking about, I've come that they might have life and have it in abundance, And so I just started to, I think that for a very long time, having been in that depressed state, you think that death is a good place to be, that is where, you just want to give up on everything and all of that. But I think after my encounter, different encounters with the Lord, I just got to this place where I started to desire to leave. And, I just thought to myself, you know what? Also with the mandate that I'd been given in Isaiah 61, I just realized that, you know what, you're not the only one who is feeling this way, who has been through all that you've been through. There are also people out there who are still stuck in the dark place, and the Lord has called you out to be a light. And so it's important that you shine. So this is just one of the platforms that I use to just shine, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
And I had to do this, where I have you as the guest, and then some other people will also be coming on the show to just share
Okay.
your story, to also, there are a lot of people that are out there that are doing so many great things in quote. And then there are people who are not so, who a lot of people don't know, but then they are still doing
No.
things for God in the kingdom, and I want people
Mm.
to know that, just because the social media world that we're in, there's so much rant and there's so much noise out there, a lot of people might feel like, oh, there's really no need. So I just thought, okay, you know what, let me do a share my story segment where I get people who I know and I believe are doing, are following the leading of God's heart for this generation, and just get them to share story and inspire people that, hey, it's okay, you also can do this, and just literally just share a story. So thank you again, Uncle Sele, for accepting to do this on Saturday. I know I told you this is like last year, I think, but but this year I just said, okay, I'm ready,
Let's
Lord.
do this.
Let's do
Let's do
this.
this.
Thank
Yeah.
you for the invitation on
You're
such a
welcome.
short notice and just saying yes, yes, let's do this. Um, so guys, this is Uncle Sele. I know I told you I call him National Global Uncle Sele. That's like an inside joke, but then I'll
Yes.
let him introduce himself. I'll let him introduce himself, and what he
Okay.
does. So Uncle Sele, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. Every time someone asks me to introduce myself, I'm always thinking, what should I say, really? But all right, my name is Sele Opofoni, but it seems like I've lost that name. So everybody calls me Uncle Sele now. So Uncle Sele has grown from just being normal Uncle Sele to a brand name that everybody around the world calls me now. So I'm the founder of Uncle Sele Foundation for human values, empowerment, and sustenance. Also the founder of an online school, for values and character called Trees and Pillars. So I train children on values. Then I also, address, some key issues in the served communities where go to places like Makoko, go to places like the juvenile centers for, the one where you have young adults basically. So I have this thing with addressing learning poverty in underserved communities, also transferring values. I'm also a schools ambassador for the World Values Day. So it means that what I do is I spread values, in different schools in Nigeria. You know, so apart from that, yeah, then I used to be in the army, of course, for 13 years, yeah, and you know, then I'm married, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. You can see them. You can see them. I always love to do my videos here so everybody can see my family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm also a parenting coach. I get to train on parenting from time to time. All right, so that's me basically. And yeah, I think that's yeah.
That's so awesome. That's a lot, really. I know that, sometimes when you begin to get your hands in all of the things that God has for you, sometimes it seems like a lot in one, in one fold, but then it's a lot, and you're doing
It's a
such an amazing job of it. I've seen
thank you.
I think that it was since 2022 that I
Okay.
joined ATP or so that I started to, be aware of all that you've been doing. And I just see how, trust me, you are doing such an amazing job. Where in times where there's people need help, people, I see it
Yeah.
all around, people need help, and just having someone who goes out of his way. I'd always had this thought. So I said I was gonna ask this, right? So I know you mentioned being in the army, right? So when I see you and all that you do for school and how Uncle Sele, by the way, he loves children. Oh my goodness. Our
I
first
have a little
encounter,
children.
I remember, I remember that you were talking to, I think it was January. I just said, oh, the moment she mentioned children, your eyes lit up. Like I cannot forget that moment. I can't forget that. Anyways,
Yeah,
that aside,
I love children.
yes, you are. That one I know. That one I know. So I'd always just wondered, like, how was the transition like? Being in the army, that person to this person, like, how did it all begin? I think we should just start from there.
Oh, okay. I think it's even nice that's the first question because it tells a whole lot about how I started. So while I was in the army, I just had this thing in my head. I don't know, maybe God was always just saying it to me and it wasn't really clear then. But there was one thing I just always said that I believe God is calling me to do something different. I don't know what it is, but I just know that God is saying, oh, I want to do something. And I knew that God didn't want me to have this normal, go to work and someone pays you at the end of the month. So it was
Mm,
always disturbing me, and I also knew that it was time for me to leave the army,
wow.
and I left. Funny enough, after I left, it was crazy. So I'm saying it was crazy because you know I wanted to do human resources. Now I felt because I was good with people, I just felt, oh, human resources would be the best place, because I just feel that I felt that I was in debt to people, but people liked me, so I just said, maybe it's just human resources. And although I still love children because I was in children's church and always having fun, jumping up and down, doing crazy things, and children are laughing. Then I was this guy who parents always call and say, please can you hear me talk to my child? So I say, guy, come, how are you doing? Well, mommy's saying this, stop this, do this. So I was always this guy who was always talking to kids about character. But I wanted to do human resources Monday to Fridays. But you see, the funny thing is, it never worked. So
Mm,
that became, that point in my life where, there was trouble, there was pain. I remember one day that, I was doing a training and I was so hungry. And I said, God, feed me. I was really hungry. It was terrible. I said, God, feed me. And when I was going, to where I was staying, two kids ran to me, two kids. And one held my right hand, one held my left hand, and said, hey, Uncle Sele, you didn't come for Osho and Bobo's birthday. I said, oh, really? They have a birthday. And so they dragged me to the birthday and they were feeding me. They were giving me their rice. They were feeding me with their rice. Yeah, true life story. Feeding me with their rice. Giving me one was giving me rice, one was giving me lead, one was giving me, they're just feeding me, and I was like,
wow.
I had tears in my eyes, like, oh God, so you have prayers like this. And I heard, I heard it all. I heard it, and I said, I heard children will feed you. But you see the very funny thing. After I ate that food, I felt that was the answer. that they fed me, I've eaten, and that's the end. Do you get? So what I didn't know was God telling me in my life that this is how you are going to feed. But I ate and I was okay because I said a prayer and I saw the answer immediately, and so I felt like, oh God had answered my prayer at that minute. But you see, so I kept on looking for jobs, and nothing came. I was the guy that trained me in human resources said I was the best guy I ever trained at that time, and so he was sending me to different organizations. There were some that they didn't see me. I was at the gate and they would just say, no, 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 no. Tell Mr. Dotu that Mr. Dotu the guy is a doctor now. Dr. Dotu was the one that trained me. You say, tell Dr. Dotu that is not today. So I was always going back and forth. It was a 8 to 9 years of pain.
Wow.
Pain, serious pain. Yeah, serious pain. I was depressed, seriously. Funny thing is that from Monday through Saturday, I was so much in pain. On Sunday, I'll go to church and be smiling because I was with children. I was always happy, jumping. There was this funny day that I went to church and I couldn't enter because I just felt that I just had this feeling that I wasn't looking good because I was going through a whole lot. And there was a guy that saw me. I could sense that he had this look on his face that this guy is not looking. This guy is going through stuff. This guy went and he got 5,000 naira. Just put in an envelope and he gave to me. And he didn't allow me open it. He just when somebody respects you and you just say, Baba, I better take this envelope. And the guy walks away and I opened it. It was 5K. It was like an answered prayer. And it was a terrible time actually until my pastor's wife, Pastor Mildred Okonkwo, said to me that she called me to a meeting and said she wanted me to teach children character education. And and earlier she had asked me to teach children, but as a teacher, but I said no. So she was like, Sele. So because of that day, she then came and said to me that Sele, it's because you think God can take care of you where he has called you. And when she said that, I now remembered that day 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I can't remember. It's very funny. I can't remember. It's 8 or 9. I think it was 8 years. 8 years ago when God said, children will feed you. And I was upset. I was really upset. I was upset with God. Like, how would you make me go through pain for 8 years? Let's put that 8 years. And only for you to let my pastor's wife tell me this now. Why did you just let me know since? And so, I always had this thing that I had a Jonah story, because God wanted me to, reach out to children, and families. And I was saying I wanted to do human resources, so I was just going through stress and suffering at the same time. So I always say that. And funny enough, I now got married during that same season, and God provided for my wedding.
Come on.
And so I always say that I made people suffer in a bit, a bit in the sense that from the suffering, and now started working somewhere that didn't last. Then I got married, and the suffering now continued. So people had to go through some stress, and but one thing that happened was that we started praying together, and when I started doing stuff for children, and I started my life all over again after like 8 years, after like 9 years. I like to say 9 years. After like 9 years, I had my life all over again from scratch. But this time around, being focused on what God really wanted me to do, because it felt like that time that I remembered, and the Holy Spirit told me that, look, I gave you an answer long ago, but you didn't know, you didn't ask. But the answer was always there because I told you, children feed you. So you didn't understand what that meant. You felt it was for one eating. Meanwhile, I was giving you something for, the rest of your life, things like that. So that's how I moved from being a soldier to, who I am right now. It wasn't funny. Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. It wasn't funny at all. At all. Yeah, it wasn't funny at all. So I'm telling you the truth. So for anyone listening, most times when I get to introduce myself and I say the things that I do, so it feels like God is doing like oh, you didn't hear me since now, take everything. So it feels like everything is coming. Everything is coming. So people have seen this part and they're like, oh, hey, Uncle Zele. I'm like, God, please, the thing that you want to tell me, I don't want all these hey, Uncle Zele to make me miss it. What do you want me to do? Do you get? Because I know, where I'm coming from. Yeah. So that's it.
Wow. Okay, so I'm listening to you and I'm just like, wow, that is, I mean, you just unpacked a whole lot. It's interesting
Yeah.
how the way we share our stories, right? It almost sounds like it maybe just happened in a couple of hours, but
No, I
what you
did it.
just said in minutes is actually an entire 9-year journey
Oh yeah.
and a whole lot of process in between that I mean we
Hello.
can't. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you want to say
Yeah.
something? Please go ahead.
Yeah. We can't. The truth is, it was terrible. It was terrible. Maybe if one of the questions has to do with, the process, then maybe I can talk about it. But it was terrible. I know that one of the times my wife got pregnant and we're looking at ourselves and saying, why did we why are we pregnant now? Why are we pregnant now? We shouldn't be pregnant now. Do you get? We had to literally talk to ourselves to say, okay, look, we can do this. And it built a whole lot of faith in me to to do the things that I'm doing right now, to say that, look, you can't run away, you can't go back, but you just have to press on with the word that God has given to you. So we did, and we're still growing, basically. I'm telling you. So maybe I always say maybe one of the reasons why I get to look younger is because I started my life again. So I feel like a baby in all the things that I'm doing. So I feel very, very young, even if, literally I'm not. That's the truth. Yeah.
Wow, that is so profound. I mean, there are a lot of things you said that I'm just like, my brain is just, like up there. But one very profound thing, I think it was the moment I literally had goosebumps when you were saying it. The first time when you said, Lord, feed me, that moment. And answer came in form of two amazing angels that took your
Yeah.
hands and led you. It's giving scriptural vibe, like how the ravens came.
You don't want to know how it was then. You don't
Oh
want to know
my
how it was then because it's it's giving scriptural vibes, but it wasn't it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. It was very good because yeah, God answered my prayer.
God.
But you see, if you look at it now, and I'm always like, why didn't I get it that time? Do you get, And I look at my wife and oops. Sometimes I just say sorry, man, because man, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. I'm just literally saying wow, 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 because I'm just trying to imagine how that felt like. And then coming to a place 9 years later where the Lord is saying to you that I answered you years
Yeah, I
ago,
answered you.
but
I answered you long ago. Yeah, I answered you.
how was that for
I
you?
found it. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny because the crazy thing is that I heard those things. I heard those words. Well,
Mm,
feed me, children will feed you, and like I already told you this, but you you ate literally, you literally ate, you're eating your purpose, not conscious of the fact that, look, hey, this thing you're doing today is what I want you to do for the rest of your life. Children, do you get? So it felt, the thing is, I was in my purpose, but not conscious of it. in terms of, as it is in heaven, so it is on earth. Do you get? So yeah, so that thing, I wasn't conscious about that thing, and I think a whole lot of people most times find themselves like, oh, you're actually doing what heaven is written concerning you, but you're not conscious because maybe that thing, that word intimacy, is not there. You get that intimacy is not there because I always say that if you are conscious, if you're aware, if you are very conscious of that relationship with God, and you're working with God with regards to God, what am I doing today? What do you want me to do today? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? And things like that. I think for someone like me, I wouldn't have gone through that stress, but I had blocked ears. You get I had blocked ears, but I felt I didn't have blocked ears. So, but when I wanted to hear, I was hearing. Do you get? So I was doing it half and half, but it didn't work for me. I had to go through stress or go through a whole lot to understand that. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that because I'm just like, different things are just like coming to my head, and I know that for different people, right, they might be in different spaces in their lives. But one very profound thing for me was you just realizing something when you were, in the army that, what, I don't think that this is it. And number one, I think that it takes a whole lot of courage to leave something that you
Oh yeah.
probably thought was once your dream. And I think that we do not talk about that enough. The courage that it takes to actually leave something that once upon a time it was a dream come true. There was the
Yeah.
excitement, when you got your letter that you've been enrolled, you've been admitted, you've been taken in, the acceptance letter, the joy that you must have
Mm,
felt, or all of that, and then coming to this place in that journey and just realizing that mm-mm. And the courage to actually do this without even saying anything yet. I think no, I think that we do not commend people, enough on
yeah.
that because it takes a whole lot of boldness. Because I,
Oh
I, I
yes,
know
it
I
does.
know I've come to, I've seen a lot of people. I know myself because I have had to leave some things behind. Like everybody is running towards this direction and it seems very profitable. And it seems like, well, there's a whole lot of money to be gotten. There's the stress, of course, that comes with it. But the comfort that it gives you to know that I'm still able to survive, or I'm able to meet needs, or I'm able to do this. But then having that conviction that this is not it, there's just something not, and then having to
Yeah.
live without any clear. Oh my goodness, that's
Yeah.
a lot. That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
You know,
It is.
that's a lot. And and then I also remembered something that that you said. What was it for you, right? That finally got you to this place of saying, I surrender. I know that, the surrendering journey must have started while you were in the army, right? Just getting to that place, you say, what, I'm just going to drop this and go for what I believe that the Lord is speaking to my heart about, right? And first, I think we should even delve with that issue of where you think that this is where God is calling me, and then you go there and then you just find that it's not really it. Let's delve into that place a lot because I feel
Okay.
like a lot of people get very I don't know how to put it, but you have the table, you have the mic, just speak.
Okay. So so there was this thing, growing up. Um I think growing up, I wanted something different for myself, So I started looking at patterns. So let me just tell you. So my dad was in custom.
Hi, Uncle Sele, are you there? Network.
Okay. So can you see me? All right.
Yes, I can see you now. Yes, I can see you now.
All
So you
right.
were saying,
So yeah. So for me, the summit that God actually put in me that I'm very very conscious about is how to recognize patterns. So and I think it started, for me at a very young age. So I wanted things to be very different. So I noticed that my dad is in the custom, my mom teacher, and my dad, it was always going from place to place, and I didn't like that. Then, my mom also was a teacher, and there was a time where she was in Lagos, they were not being paid, and she was always crying the name of the governor. I don't want to say the name of the governor now, so, and I didn't like it. So when I was in the army, it felt like my life was going to be like my dad's own, going from place to place, then just waiting at the end of the month, the money comes. So I now said to myself that I think that God has created us for something more. And that I believe that there's something that God has put in me in terms of creation. So I always had this feeling that God has called me to create. Do you understand? So I didn't know
Yeah.
what it was. I didn't know what it was. That I just felt that, oh, God has called me to create something. So being in the army, people loved me in the army. People wanted me to stay in the army. People wanted me to say, okay, Sele, you need to go to the next stage in the army, become an officer in the army, become this. And I was like, no, I don't want to become an officer in the army. I want to live as a soldier. I don't want to further. I don't want to do anything like that. They're like, why? So one was even saying that, okay, look, if you write this letter, it will get missing. And funny enough, his words actually came to pass because my letter got missing, and we had to they had to trace it, to say, oh, you submitted this letter since. And when I found it, the letter was already replied. I wasn't in the army anymore, according to the letter, but I was still working in the army. Do you get? Because I hadn't seen that letter. Do you get? Yeah. Yeah. So, but the thing is, that's how my mind was. Do you get that? Okay, look, if I continue like this, it means I'm going to continue the pattern that I had seen in my father, being that I'll be posted from place to place. If I get married, I will just be moving. My wife and children will just be here somewhere. I didn't want that, so I wanted to stop that pattern. That's number one. Then number two, I wanted more from life. I wanted more from life to say that, look, and I started having this understanding of the Bible where, God created Adam, and he put him in a place, he put him in a garden, and he started naming things, and those things, the name is what we know it as. So I said to myself, so it means that God has placed me in a place that when I create, whatever I call it will be. So I wanted to create something. Do you get? I wanted to create something. I wanted to be that man who would do something different, who would do the thing that God has called him to do. And I always believed that I was going to create something that will be known in the world, that this is what Uncle Sele created. This is the name he called it, and that's the name it is. Do you understand? I had that consciousness. So, that's when I now said, I said to myself that, oh, guy, you need to leave this place if you want to do what God wants you to do. And I said, okay, what am I going to do? I don't know. But I just had to leave. So I took a step, wrote a letter. Well, it took a while until I got a phone call to say, oh, look, you did this, you did this. I was okay. I traveled down to the place, to the unit, and I got it sorted out, and I was able to leave the army. And it was funny coming, trying to get my mind and trying to create a path. It was I'm saying it was funny, but actually it wasn't funny. You get. But God started God started again. God started in me, by us out to Lagos and things like that. And well, like I said, I went through. I was in the belly of the fish, and in the belly of the fish, it's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be. No, not at all. Not a good. I wouldn't advise anyone. So I think that that concept of as it is in heaven, so it is on earth, I think is always very good that we know it early, so that we don't. And I think that's the reason why a whole lot of people get into depression. Because there's this thing in us as humans to create value. That's the truth. God has already put in us, as in create value. Do you understand? Now we're in a time and season where we're seeing value being created by people, because the truth is that's who we are. We'll create value. Do you understand? We will create value. We are meant to create value. And there will always be issues that are tied to us. Do you understand that there are things that are tied to us, to say, okay, look, this is the problem that you are going to solve. This is the thing that you're going to do. This is the thing that you ought to do. And for some people, they get away with it, with not doing what they're supposed to do, being, going through stuff, or working in some other places. But I couldn't get away. I couldn't get away with it, because even in in that belly of the fish, even in the trying season, I still said to myself, there is something God wants me to do. So because I held on to that, because I always held on to that, I always saw that trying time, or that time in the belly of the fish, as there is something that is missing. It's either I'm not doing something, but I started praying. So I think like Jonah prayed, I prayed, and God brought me out of the fish. So yeah.
Wow, that is such a profound movement. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I really wanted us to get a little bit deeper into your story, and that's why I kept on asking that, because I know that I could relate with some of the things you were saying in terms of where you were at mentally, and the reality of life. And I know that a lot of people also fall into that category. Maybe not everyone, but I know that at least there are similar things. You mentioned something about understanding patterns, right? I wanted to share a little bit about how we should be able to, because I noticed this that you just said was also something that I recently came into, an understanding that I came into, that we should study the circles of our life and patterns, right? Because they are like mini blueprints to to the working of God in our life. They are not the entire blueprint, but they are mini blueprints to show us that, hey, okay, this, check it again. And there's also the part about cycles. So I just want you to shed a little bit of light more about understanding patterns, right? And how people should be able to pick up, and adjust that into their life story. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So the thing about patterns that, you always want to look at your parents. You want to look at your, if you were alive and you were able to see your grandparents, and you probably know their story. Do you get? That's why I always encourage parents to tell their children things about themselves. Do you understand? And sometimes talk to your children about these things. So now, for me, God made it, a point of duty to give me that consciousness to see the things that were wrong, to see the things that were happening in my home, the things that were good and the things that were bad. So then, as a married man, I could see that those things that happened, had the tendencies of happening in my own home. Yeah, tendencies. Things that Popsy did, you'll probably do the advanced model of it. So I always say things like, daddy pro max or mommy pro max. So you find your children doing things, that you did, or more than you did, or they are creative, in doing the things that you did. Do you understand? So one of the things that parents should always do is, once you understand the thing that your parents used to do, that you are, that you have the consciousness to do. Most times you tell yourself that you won't do it, if it means that you want to break that pattern. So let me give you an example. Let me just use the easiest one. You find out that a lot of mothers like to shout. So most times, yeah, some mothers are looking at me. So most times they got it from their mothers. Yeah, most times they got it from their mothers. And they will tell you that their mother told them that their own mother used to do things like that. So you see, that's how shouting becomes part of parenting, or that's how shouting has become part of parenting, because every parent says to themselves that my mother shouted, I will shout, because he felt that that time that they shouted on you, you did the thing that they wanted you to do. So when you shout, your children will also do the things that you want them to do. So what if you now say to yourself that I'm not going to shout? Do you understand? So it means that your children will now say that my mother didn't really shout at me. What she just did was that she talked to me. So what it means that you're now using emotional intelligence in parenting, understanding your own emotions, understanding your children, and being able to connect to them in such a way that you can tell them to do the things that you want them to do without shouting. Do you get? So now shouting becomes a pattern when you think it's okay. So my dad did it, it's fine. I will do it, it's okay. So you see someone that drinks, he says my son will drink, it's okay. So the son now becomes a heavy drinker. Then his own son sees him drinking. Then because daddy saw his own daddy drinking and saw nothing wrong with it, daddy is now drinking, saying that my son sees me drinking, there is nothing wrong with it. Now you don't understand how this pattern can literally destroy. Do you understand? So those things are very, very heavy. So we just transfer patterns to our children unconsciously because we think it's okay to do those things because they become part of us. But if you're conscious of it, to say no, I don't like the thing that my own mother did because I don't think it was right, then you stop it. Then you introduce a new pattern to your children. Your children then start creating a new pattern. Do you understand? So one of the easiest ways is consciousness. Moses had anger issues because his forefathers had anger issues. Read the Bible, is there. Abraham lied concerning his wife. His son lied concerning his wife. So you see how patterns can actually be transferred. It's in the Bible. It also happens. It also happens real life. So once you are conscious of these things, so that's why if you notice, people will tell you that I will not be poor because I don't want my children to see poverty. So they were poor. Then when they have money, what they now begin to do is that they begin to spoil their children. But they didn't know. They don't understand that what you're supposed to do is let your children live in a very comfortable environment, which you didn't have, but also teach them and make them understand how money is being made, how money is being managed, and how money is being multiplied. So it is the knowledge of money that they don't transfer. So what they do is that they spoil the child. The child then misuses the money, then goes back to being poor. Then they will now make money again as they grow older and spoil their children. So you see how they stopped the pattern and continued another type of pattern. Do you understand? But if you're poor, you made money, then you begin to teach your children about money, teach your children how money is being made, teach your children how money is being managed, and teach your children how money is being multiplied. What you now begin to do is you create a financial legacy or financial inheritance that has to do with knowledge, then also has to do with the physical wealth. Then what begins to happen is that your own children begin to teach their own children because you told your own children that, look, this is how money is being made. You can't waste money. So your children are not telling their own children. Before you know what's happening, poverty is stopped. Financial literacy and wealth transfer begins. Do you get? So that's how you handle patterns. You destroy and you start new ones. Good.
That is so profound. Yeah, because I feel like you just broke down. I was looking at it and it's almost like I was just saying a management process, right? Of how to, be a better manager of both your emotions, both the tangibles and the intangibles, which is also one of the that I, saw that you mentioned. First, identify that there's a pattern,
yes.
right? And that takes some form of intentionality and self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
And the more you begin to study, and that first comes from knowing the story.
Yeah.
You have to find the story. So when you know the story, you look at your life, you do a self-assessment, and then you begin to, break it down, identify the patterns, and then understand what it is that you need to do about these patterns. then you
Yeah.
can transfer. I love the part about transferring knowledge to children because I think that that's the power of music. And oh yes, I must say, you just cured me of one slight thing because I just realized that I found myself, I currently am with my, I stay with my sister and my niece. So I can't
Okay.
just found that I'm always screaming at my niece. Because like, and then when I finished it, I'm like, but I'm not supposed to be that kind of, aunt. I'm the nice and sweet aunt. I do all of that for her. So she knows that her aunt loves her and all of that. But then there's still that, you know, side eye, like, better behave, and then I see that I'm like, why did I do
No, of course you can
this?
be firm. You can be firm.
Well,
Of course you can be firm.
yes,
You will be
I think it's the
firm.
shouting part. I think it's the shouting part for me. But then I think I just hearing you say that about patterns, I think I understand it now because I think that it was from my dad. He shouted at us. He didn't talk to us. He was just always shouting stuff at us, and then we're either to pick it up and adjust and align. Because my dad also is a retired officer, so I
Oh,
think it's about that from alignment discipline.
you don't
But
flog you. Hey, and I know that you know that then we were very scared of our fathers.
oh
Very,
my
very scared.
goodness.
Very,
Oh
very
no.
scared.
You hear
We were
you
running to
hear you hear
hide.
their sound. You
As they
run.
will run away, will be, daddy comes in and daddy feels like, okay, my children are listening to me. But the reality is that we're not listening, we're just afraid. So for someone like me, so what I say to myself is I want to be very close to my children.
Mm,
They're not afraid of me. So that I can
mm,
actually see that those times where they are misbehaving, where where you need they're showing lapses basically, and you're saying to yourself, oh, I need to address this area, I need to teach them this area, because the Bible says that oh son, listen to your father's instructions and your mother's teaching, Jesus, and it shall be well with. So it means that in every home, there will be instructions and teachings. The major problem
mm,
is that we don't have those things. There are no instructions, there are no teachings. If you miss those two, then what are you doing? All you're doing
mm.
is you're always shouting because you're trying to pass information, you're trying to shout it out and things like that. And for children, repetition is key. You have to repeat. And we
Ah,
don't want we don't want to repeat actually, but we have to
true.
repeat. That's the truth. We have to, they're
Mm,
growing, their brains and minds are developing. So you have to repeat. You must repeat things. There's no, you can't run away from. You must repeat and you must build relationships. So if you want to build
mm.
relationship, um, you repeat things. You get
That is
so
so
that's
profound. That is so profound. Because this, like you just said, right? I'd seen something on a psychological page one time on Instagram where they were talking about how we learn through repetition, and the more, and this is us as adults,
us as
and then
adults,
we feel like,
exactly.
and this is us as adults that you don't learn one time. You have to repeat things to your for your subconscious to really grasp a hold of that thing, and then submit it to your conscious where it now becomes a behavior. So how then are we? I think that it's just impatience that happens, and you just hit the nail on the head. So thank you so much for that, right? So I mean, you shared your story. We've even dived into a little bit of parenting. We've spoken about a little bit of doing what the Lord would have you do. I think we've touched on. We even spoke about marriage
My
and pregnancy.
goodness,
I
yeah.
want to hear some gist, but you know what? Let me just skip that one. Maybe we'll do an IG live on that one where we'll now have people come and listen, and then we'll delve in deeper into
Oh, okay.
that.
No, Allah.
So let me just, as we run off this session, right? Let me just ask you, at the moment where you just said, okay, you know what, I'm going to start again. What was it for you that propelled, aside from just finding the answer? Because I know you shared a story about how Pastor Mildred, had called you in to come and start teaching, but I don't think you finished, the part of the story and the next action. But what you said was that you just decided that you were going to start again. So I want you to take us through that flow. What was it like starting again for you? What did you decide?
I can't see your face again. All right, I can see you now. All right.
Okay, yes.
So
Yeah.
Okay,
So did you get my
so
question?
what I started doing, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you
Did
hear
you
me?
get my
Okay.
question?
Yes, I did. All
Okay.
right, so starting all over again. So now, what I started doing when I started teaching, um, no matter how small, no matter how it looked like I was, too big for what I was doing, I had to do it. You
Mm,
know, I had to do it. There was a whole lot of humility. I wasn't carrying hairs like, oh look, what am I doing? No. I just knew that it was the beginning of a new process. So it means that I wasn't earning a whole lot. Trust me. I wasn't earning a whole lot. I needed all the money in the world, but I had to go a process. I started doing MC for children's parties. Sometimes it will be free. Sometimes they will just give me 5,000, and trust me, what I'm saying is not like it was 10 years ago. Do you get, I had to do all those things, um, jobs were coming, different jobs were coming. It wasn't, it was something I had to do to train myself. Do you get
mm, mm.
some jobs I did, they'll just tell me thank you. People will say, how fun, and did they give you anything? I will say, oh no, they just thanked me and they gave me this. I say, okay, no problem. So really thank my wife because she was very understanding. Do you get some of the jobs I was doing, they just give me 20K, you know, I'll just carry the money, give my wife, say, baby, hey, I brought this home, it was humble beginnings again. Do you get? Because I understand where we're coming from, and I think one major thing that helped myself and my wife is that we prayed. We prayed with the
Mm.
word that God gave us. We prayed on it, and we still pray on it till today.
Mm.
We prayed. We prayed. Oh, trust me, we prayed. We prayed. We prayed. There are times that
I'm feeling that we prayed. I'm feeling that.
we
Oh,
prayed.
we prayed.
I'm telling you, we prayed. As in 12 to 1, so there was a time, let me just say this, so there was a time, that we didn't have a house,
Mm.
and then we were staying with my friend, and it was just one, it was 3 rooms, but we had to stay in one room. So it was one of the lowest times in our lives, you get. But we will come out of the house, we'll pray, myself and my wife will pray. It was you know, sometimes of course it was embarrassing, but it was just a time that, you know, we had to say to ourselves that look, okay, this is happening now, but um it can change. Do you get? And different things happened. So and I had to continue. I was doing different sometimes I was doing 2 jobs in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing 2 jobs. I wasn't doing a 9 to 5 and things like that. I was doing 2 jobs, and then it was from there. Then I started the foundation. Yeah, it was
Wow.
from there. Yeah, it was from there I started the foundation. It was, children used to come to my house, I would teach them. Then parents used to pay like 1K, prepay 1K, Abby. Yeah, 1,000 naira. They'll pay 1,000 naira. We'll use the money to cook for them. We teach them values. We had these pieces of papers that,
Wow.
we were laminated for me by my friend. We'll teach them, this is what this value means. This is what this value means. This is what this value means. Then COVID happened. Then we now moved online. Started using Google Classroom to teach, values, and that's how the online school started actually. You know,
Wow.
um, yeah. Then I started teaching values online.
Mm.
I started teaching values on Instagram actually. Started teaching values on Instagram, every day. Then after COVID, there was a time that we even did a games, for Children's Day. We did something on games, and we wrote to Flower Mill. Flower Mill sponsored it, and
Wow.
we gave out cartons, 50 cartons of noodles, 50 cartons
Wow.
of noodles. Oh yeah, during COVID, yeah. It was, and the thing is, God showed up, so we're doing things differently. And, from there, trees and pillars, before we're using trees and pillars, and we just say, hey, Sele Foundation and things like that. Then we now had to register both, and today I don't have time. I don't have my time now. Anyway,
The way that came in, like today, I don't have my time.
I don't have my time. I don't have my
Wow.
time. I go to places and
Wow.
I have to run away because I said I have places to go to, things to do for children, things I'm planning for children. We started Rebirth, where we go to juvenile homes, to talk to children about values. We started Christmas Memories. We started the International Children's Day, conference that holds in May. We've done 2 years now. We're doing the third year. Christmas Memories. Maybe like 5 years. This year, last year we did 4 locations. Then of course I collaborated with other people to do, 2 others. So I did like six different places. So God has been, the assignment that God has given to me is it's a lot. Every 12 to 1, I can't sleep. I must pray for children that I love everywhere. So yeah, I can't
Wow.
sleep. I can't sleep.
Wow.
It's for intercession. So I must pray for children. I must pray for families. So um, it's a lot. Trust me. Then Thursday, I also pray for families. Yeah, we pray every Thursday, praying for you and yours, where parents come together and pray, and then we do much of the rising. So I must just talk, as in God is always telling me things for families. So
It's awesome.
I have a podcast for children also. Talk about Bible stories and values.
Wow.
It's sometimes when people begins to list all the things. And we started last year. We started Miss Little Rainbow for children. Using
Yes. Yes. Yes.
the
The
fashion show for
pageant,
children.
beauty pageant.
The
Yeah.
pageant where we use to transfer values. And to take back the rainbow so that children don't begin to see rainbow as something else, but we see rainbow as the covenant that God has for us. Um, so it's a lot. Trust me, it's a lot.
It's
Um,
awesome.
so sometimes when I look at myself and say that where we're coming from to where we are going to, because I know that God is not done yet. Um, I know God is not done yet. So like this year we're starting. Every year we have something called project education, where we do things for different schools in on the said areas. And this year God is saying, okay, there's learning poverty. Push the push the competition in such a way that you're driving education in those areas and things like that. And this year we're buying 50 jam forms, for
Yeah.
children, for young adults, and we're already giving out 25. So
So
um,
profound.
yeah,
That's
so
That's so good. Well done. Well done, Uncle Sele and Auntie Pri. While listening to you talk, I just thought to myself, I think, you know what? I'm going to have to do another podcast where I'll have both of you. I already have the title. Just listening to you talk, I already know. Well, let me just tell you ahead. We're going to be talking about partnership in marriage, right? And because I think
okay,
that because that's in fact that's another just let me not bring that into this so that's
it's
but
fine, it's fine.
that's a lot. But I think that I must say this, and I really must say this, that well done, Uncle Sele,
Thank
because
you.
I feel like we live. I know that there are people who are breathing for the purposes of God here on earth, but then I also see on the rise a majority of people who are just so concerned about theirs and theirs alone. But to be in a place where you're going through so much and yet still availing yourself to be God's hands and feet here on earth. I think that
Yeah.
that is the most amazing and most accomplishing thing any human being on earth can do. And so thank
Thank you.
you, Uncle Sele, for deciding to start again, because if not, I don't think we would have connected. I don't think it would have come on HTP.
Oh yeah.
Able to
Yeah.
meet.
True. True.
Thank
True.
you for doing that. So,
You said something. You said something about going through. I remember there was a time we wanted to do a conference, and my children were
yeah.
sent home from school. My children were sent home
Wow.
from school, and I was so upset with God. I was like, God, how can you provide for me to do a conference to host more than 500 children where they'll be taught values and my own kids at home? And I was like, and
Mm.
I didn't even hear anything, but I just said, okay, God, I know you would. I just told God, God, I'm just telling you, so you just know that you're not doing me right. And, I'm doing your
I
will.
like that part.
And then, like, I'm saying, God, just let that sink in so that you know that
It's not
it's
balanced at all. It's
it's not
scale.
balanced. But but trust me, God is faithful. God is faithful. I
Wow.
passed through that, but I always thank God. I always thank God for that.
Wow.
I
Wow.
always thank God. It's so. The truth is, it's not always been very very easy and very smooth, where people see Uncle Sele and say, "Oh, this is the guy, well done," and all those things like that. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much," And so sometimes I'm happy that I can share, some of my stories so that people can actually know that, you know,
Mm.
doing great things would never be convenient, always,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
you just tell yourself that God never owes, and I always say that. Yeah, God never owes. I know it never owes you at the right time. It will pay you, and God doesn't pay. What is
Small.
not a small. It's not a small God. You get God takes care of
Yeah.
us in big ways. Yeah. So that's it.
Wow. Uncle Sele, that is amazing. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and open
Thank
to
you.
just sharing that part of your life. I don't know why we're doing this in the beginning of the year, but I just, just feel that this needs to go out, because of I don't know, it's just what I'm sensing, right? Because I just know that we're in a season where it's important for light to shine and come out and shine. And then I think that a lot of times when we say light shine, we think that it's just an easy process, but there's an entire building, underground building structure that goes into light, seeing lights just come out and shine, having the foundations, doing all the things that you do, and just having your own things, not even sometimes having your own need met on time, but still attending to other people's needs. And so that is a whole lot to unbox, right? So I just want you to just give a word of encouragement to people out there, upcoming people like myself and others coming on this journey with God. Just
Okay. So my own message to people. I'm still upcoming. I don't know. I'm still upcoming. So every, everybody's still upcoming. I'm still upcoming. God, I'm still upcoming. Oh God, don't listen to Mary. I'm still upcoming. I beg you, no go say anything. I'm still upcoming. I'm still upcoming. So what I want to say to everyone, you know, don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep moving. Just keep moving in the direction that God has called you. The thing is, God is faithful. Trust me, God is faithful. And why I say God is faithful, you move in faith, God will always answer you. Yeah, God will always answer you. God will always turn up. God will always turn up. It will be there for you. It will always sort you out. God will always sort you out, because and the truth is, God will never leave nor forsake you. That's the
Yeah.
truth. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to a Boston home in February, and we already have an organization willing to sponsor, a trip,
Wow.
and yeah, the last time I went to a juvenile home, we had to write letters and letters and letters. But now, you just say, "Oh, so what are you doing in February?" I say, "Oh, I'm going to Abeokuta. This is okay. So just give us a letter and let's know. Write a letter and a statement." So, and I just like you heard me. I didn't always start like that, So put in the work, and trust God. Trust me. Trust me. God will turn up. Yeah, it's just waiting for us, basically.
Yeah, that part. I think that the most profound part of it is just putting the work, and I
Yeah,
think that that's where a lot of people, I think that we I always love to use this analogy about, seed and then planting of trees,
yeah,
and certain fruits are very quick to, evolve and just pop out. You plant a seed and then a couple of, days and all of that, you begin to
mm,
see it spread, and I think that a lot of people get carried away by that process. And we seem to forget that we all have different processes, and different timings of manifestations, supposedly.
yeah.
But for you, thank you so much, Uncle Sele, for giving me your time, and my listeners. Thank you so much. I'm prepared. I know you're in the background. Thank you so much for giving us.
He's waving.
Thank you so much for sharing out of your beautiful story. And I know that your story is still unfolding in God, and it gets bigger and bigger because God's vision is so much bigger than what we can think of.
Oh,
So
yes, yes, so. Yes, so.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Uncle Sele. It has been awesome listening to my story segment with Uncle National Global Uncle Sele. I always have to add that part. Thank you.
Thank
I
you so much.
appreciate you. And yes, absolutely, we're going to be doing this again. So this time it will probably be an
Okay.
IG live or something. Yeah. Thank you so much for
Okay.
your time. God bless you.
All right. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.